everyone, Master Xeon1001 here, and in this video I wanted to show you guys how I went through the process of using Boxcutter 707 to model this corridor while going over some features and just taking it through the various stages until finally we arrive at the final render and getting this thing cloned all around. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. Before we begin, I want to show you a couple of features new to Boxcutter 707. For example, in the behavior panel there is now an option for apply slices. So we have our circle, we're set to red, and our segment count is actually set to 6. So whenever we draw it out, it's going to create a pattern like this. And we bring that back, press X in order to turn it into a yellow box, and we click to apply. And if we look at this, the first slice has been applied, giving us exactly what we need here as far as allowing us to quickly get to work on this without it being a duplicate of the entire mesh. Another new feature that was added was auto thick. This was missing in the previous release. It was part of an emergency bug fix we were working on getting out there, but basically it allows you to draw using thickness off the bat. Now if I press T to adjust it, I can make it a little more narrow and then apply it. And on the next time that that's being drawn, it will have the same behavior, or the same thickness to be more accurate. In addition to that, if we press Ctrl-Alt-Q, Quad View is a mode that's now supported. Activate LaserCut. I don't normally work in Quad View, however it is something that worked in our previous versions and I didn't want that to be missed. And so also there's been a ton of additional new behaviors that's been added. For example, active only will allow you to work using a second mesh as a jump off point, something to assist in workflow until we actually come up with a system for this. So right here I just bring in a plane. I'm going to convert it into a wire, put some subdivisions in it just because I like this hypothetical looking plane. And if we come here, use red box, we now, box not circle, wow, really hanging on the circle here. In fact, let's take this, and in the Q menu actually have an option for flip normals, I thought, shading, or where is it, normals, flip normals. We'll add that to quick favorites so that way we can just quickly flip the normals, and now we can actually draw some nice angle cuts in here. In fact, let's change it back to just regular box, and there we go. And then all we have to do is just move our plane around and we can put these type of angle cuts wherever we want using the secondary mesh as a jump off point. So that's the purpose of the active only. And with that, I believe we can go ahead and get into the demo where I'll be able to go into everything more in depth. Before we begin, I want to give a shout out to Chipp Walters, who has a glass tutorial over on Gumroad. He's been a good friend, mentor, and now Blender user. So definitely go over there and check that out. Without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. Alright, so in this demonstration I'll be showing how new users can get started with Boxcutter 707 and Hardop 0097 as of the latest update. So I'm going to press numpad 1, look at it from the front, then numpad 3, look at it from the side, because I always got to get my views down. We're starting off in box, and we're just going to draw a red box using left mouse click. I'm going to press tab to drop that shape down, press B to bevel all the corners, individual corner beveling coming soon. From here I'm going to just hold shift in order to keep this shape live, and I'm going to press Control tilde to use the Hardops modifier helper to apply the modifiers. If you're not using Hardops, you can just go to the modifiers, but I like to pretend that thing's not even there, so I'll press shift space bar to really help myself get into the zone. I'm going to bring this shape forward, Control R, add a loop cut, and we're just going to make a few modifications to it. I have to hide this face for some reason in order to get at the juicy faces on the inside that I really want to get to. We'll just move this back. Just want to adjust the shape a little bit compared to all the previous demos I've been messing with and goofing off with. I do want to go in and do a more structured level. I must apologize for my voice. I believe my throat is getting sore. So right here, I'm just going to press Q after selecting the object, and we're just going to C-sharpen to put a nice little bevel on it, because bevels is just where it's at for me. Now right here, I want to throw out a PSA and shout out to AR, who pointed out so kindly to me when we were meeting about Boxcutter for about 5 hours yesterday that I've been using the mirror all wrong. And I was the one that actually suggested that we went in and made the modifier use the bisect. But right here, I'm going to mirror it on the X and use Control tilde to look at our helper. So if we look at our helper here, we want to put the mirror above the weighted normal. But let's look at this mirror. Instead of a bisect, it actually used a non-destructive bisect along with flip X and set up our modifier. So it really looks like nothing, but in my opinion, this changes everything. So if we go here, just draw a red box across the mirror axis, it just takes it. Blender will just let that go. And the reason this works is because under sort modifiers, we have it set up where new Boolean modifiers are put before all of these listed. So if we uncheck this, it's bevel, weighted normal, array, and mirror. So by checking all of these, it will always put the Boolean modifier where it needs to be. And this is something that I think will be part of Blender in the long run and won't be changing. And when I first discovered this, I was like, oh my god, we have to put out a video immediately. I have to do a PSA to let people know that you can actually mirror in Boxcutter non-destructively and continue all your cuts without any regard of what happens in between. And interestingly, if we go in here and we just turn off the mirror, we could see that, you know, it's happening on the other side, but there's a point in the stack in which, after all of this is done, it's being split, re-added, bisected, and then the normals are being adjusted. So this is, in my opinion, the ideal workflow, with the previous mirror stuff that was shown in mirror business to be confirmed monkey business, as in please don't go do that, because this is the truth. I spent all day just going to Box City, just selecting shapes and just drawing cuts and really just testing the mirror, because I just couldn't believe it. I was like, this can't be, this cannot be. But in addition to that, with the latest 2.8, there's been a lot of fixes done in order to improve the overall situation when it comes to weighted normals and mirror modifiers. Right here, I'm going to apply C#, and I just wonder why that surface looks like that. We're going to clean the mesh. That'll take care of it. So HardOps is always there for you in the background to help catch you when something tricky is going on. God, my voice just sounds terrible. But continuing on, right here we're just going to cut in a screen, because you know me, I love kiosks. I mean, I don't love them in real life. You won't catch me at the mall admiring a kiosk, you know. But in the sci-fi world, it's important that you go up and you register. And you register your whole family too, or else they're going to come and take you in the dystopian future. So right here, I'm just going to draw a box all the way across, turn it to a slice box. I'm going to hold shift, click and apply. Now normally with apply slices, it would apply to slices, but we had it where shift serves as an override, part of that behavior update. So now we can go in and just modify this mesh, and it will actually update our slice. But the name of the game in 2.8 at this time for me is working non-destructively. So once the workflow is completely there and I can get back to robots, I look forward to turning a cube into a bot and then altering the cube to make a completely different robot is you know, what I hope for inside. But who knows? I'm probably going to be sculpting it, doing some topological work, just taking it the classic route. So right here, as you can see, I love Redbox. Redbox just does the job. I think Redbox also rents movies, but we're not talking about that Redbox here. I'm going to press V to use the array, and we'll just put another one here. Now, in addition to that, you can also use hardops with its new array, which I find to be quite marvelous as well. So if I hold Shift, this shape is automatically selected. I can press Q, go into array, hit plus a couple of times, and then move it up using a gizmo. So we do have plans on integrating things like this to Boxcutter. However, we do want to do it a little bit differently. Gizmos in themselves are kind of strange in 2.8. While we're very excited about what they're going to become when they're working correctly, they do also introduce a fair amount of glitches. For example, if you have the translate gizmo up, if you're one of those type of guys, and you're working, in fact right here, I didn't even want to hold Shift, but if you have the translate gizmo up and you bring up the hops mirror gizmo, things will get a little unusual for you. I also want to go and do a video talking about reasons I feel that you should use 2.8 if you're holding out in 2.79. You know, a lot of users I noticed have been looking at 2.8 from the outside compared to the amount of new people that are coming in straight into 2.8. While I do see a lot of people talking about stability and whatnot and lack of their favorite tools, it's also important to get in here and get used to the new setup and what 2.8 is going to offer without causing yourself a shock later in the year when you wait for some major update. But you know me, I'm always trying to be part of the current, because this is going to be the present. There's no doubt about it. You know, there's no chance that they're going to wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, let's scrap all of 2.8, go back to 2.79, start from there. Just don't see it. So bringing in these shapes, we can see that things are getting unruly with the boolean, with the bevel. And we can get in here and really look at this. So right here, I'm just going to turn on overlays. Let's look at what we have. Tab into edit mode. That's what we have. What if you could fix that with one slice? Blue box. Your time has come. Wow. Just wow. I love blue box, guys. We still have some improvements to make with it concerning how it was created this time, but we are definitely well aware of some issues with it nuking materials. So that's one of the reasons that you see me using it in this creation phase, is because it does have some issues with materials, and this is something that we do plan to resolve as we make our way through 2.8. But for the most part, as 2.8 improves, it also improves us. I'm going to Control Z here, bring this box back and make sure it's nice and deep, and then we'll select this, hide it, and we're just going to keep working here. So my goal is always to just, in these videos, to just talk a bunch, show how I use Boxcutter, and I'm just only pressing left mouse click. At this point I could press T, turn this into a panel cut if I want these two pieces to be connected, but panel cuts have always had a strange place, and it isn't right here. In fact, I don't want that. I keep pressing T. What am I doing? I actually want to press X and then press B. However, one of the suggestions I have for the next Boxcutter is to add the ability to remove the tthick and convert it to a slice, and also maybe never ever allow a user to slice using tthick, because it would just give you such a narrow cut and could be problematic. But you know, better more options than less options. But you know, for example, having circle automatically jump to center, having circle jump to center was critical to me, because I want to be able to select circle, and right here I was about to repeat the shape here by just control left clicking, which I guess I could do that, call it a day. But really, the thing could be solved at the level of this circle, right? I'm going to draw a circle, bring it in, hold shift, keep that thing. We're going to clean the mesh because I hate seeing all the points converge in the center. But now we can duplicate this over, select this, duplicate it up, and we have our holes here. But if we turn on wires, we can see what's really going on here. So we turn on wireframe, and we see that Blender actually did a good job. If we go in here with the blue box and we started trying to solve it ourselves, there's not much improvement to be made there. Blender, you impress me every day. So we'll go back to red box, switch back off wireframe, and I just want to really bring home that the fact that you can cut all the way across using a mirror modifier and the sort modifiers is just amazing. Like, I truly was not aware of what was going on here, and so I actually had been using it with secondary objects, like mirror classic, and had no idea that this was what was really going on with it. So we'll just cut a few little slats in front view. With Boxcutter, basically, if you draw starting off the canvas, you draw a 2D box. But if you draw with your cursor over the mesh, it's going to give you a 3D box. And you can always disable that using this option up top, which will align the shape. But really, I just stick with the defaults generally. But just know that we have more than enough behaviors here to allow you to set it to what you need. Show you an interesting trick I've been doing with circle lately is we go to circle, we'll change it to slice, we'll give this 6 rounds, and let's just slice. I love cutting octagons. I'll tap into edit mode, press 3 to go to face, I'll press I to inset, Alt S to push, and that's our first octagon. We look at this from the front and we draw another octagon because we never learn. We'll hold shift because this one's questionable. I'm going to clean the mesh because I just don't like seeing that point in the center. I just don't. Eventually Boxcutter will clean those on the way out, but for now we're really trying to improve the speed and stability of it, as well as get this to its next level and also get in-gone back as soon as possible. My favorite part of any of our tools is making improvements. However, as long as we're in a recovery state, we can't do that. I mean, we can do a couple of inherent fixes because of all the gifts that 2.8 gives us, but we got to get in-gone back so that way we can move on to our true ambitions with Boxcutter and 2.8 because the rewrite was needed in order for us to add certain functionalities and supports, and even custom shapes and support for additional tools that are not related or brought up yet. But someday in the future, hopefully, we can have an interesting tie-in system similar to how HardOps was integrated with other tools to enhance its strengths. Because there's never any need for us to rewrite the wheel, especially if someone else is already doing it. So right here, that box just went bad. We draw it again and it's fine. It's like it never happened. So at the beginning of this video, I showed me using a plane, and I keep pressing W. Just can't stop pressing W. Please give us back W. And I'm going to convert this to a wire object. And also in my Q options, I did add an option to flip normals because I'm just sick of going under mesh, normals, and flip normal. I mean, now it's easy because I've been doing it so much, but I love this work plane. I mean, we're not going to call it a work plane, we're not trying to go moto on you guys, but I want to come up with an idea of how we can have some sort of plane-based workflow in Boxcutter. So we're going to choose active only, and for this we can now use this plane as a jump off point. And because I flipped the normals, the box cutter on this plane will allow me to go the opposite direction, and we can just work some little notches in here. We can select our plane, bring it down, select this. So if you're using Boxcutter and you're experimenting with this idea and you come up with some interesting thoughts and uses that could be used for helping really perfect the orientation of a box. I also experimented with using the make box, but the make box is just a box, and this is a job for a plane. So right here we have some problems. One way to fix it, cut it out. Super lazy, I know. Sorry, just had to. So right here we're just going to bring this piece in, press B, cut it in there, and while we're working on this, let's deal with some materials. So I'm going to select everything, Control tilde, and we're just going to add a material. And for this material, of course, we want it metallic. We want it to have a little bit of roughness. You know, I've been like in the 0.3 roughness area lately, and we'll just call this Mat 1. We'll press Control L and just share all those materials. And if we give it a viewport color that isn't white, you can see that all those materials got shared. It's always important to remember some of the Blender fundamentals, like linking with the Control L menu. Certain things just don't have to be changed or removed because they were just so good, so classic. You know, I was in 2.49 just yesterday, goofing off in it, and the Control L menu is there as a friend. Good old friend, right there when you need it. So right here, we have a couple of choices. We can either lower the bevel modifier, or actually, there is no or. We fixed it. The other or was just putting a blue box in here. Blue box is basically a tool for cutting in support edges. And support edges help booleans work out, especially if you're cutting in an area that isn't really supported. Like, for example, we turn on geometry. We look at this. All this stuff is actually just being kind of auto-solved. If we wanted to help this, which it needs no help, by the way, we just draw a blue box there, we draw a blue box there, and we draw a blue box there, and we have what I would call efficient Boolean geometry. So right here, we're just going to just cut in a box. It's not going to work because this is being mapped on a it's a Boolean and then a Boolean inside of that. So we have to edit the bool shape, so we cut that geometry in there. Now at this particular time, bool scroll is under the knife. It's having a few issues. So normally I would be using that to scroll through it and demonstrate that, but we do plan to bring it back stronger than ever. It's just we also need it to work on a tablet, and that's something that bool scroll just doesn't do. Neither do any of our modals. So we're going to need to come up with some sort of touch gizmo system for that. But we are, you know, in the woodworks drawing up ideas for that. So right here, just cut all the way across the middle. You know, no regard. But, you know, I'll do it again. Cut all the way across. Press X. Now it's a slice. That's it. Like, that's all that there is to it. So one of the things I also like to do on Boxcutter is I'll draw a box, hold Shift, our overlays off. All that, just turn off wireframes. I usually never turn off overlays because it affects gizmos. So Shift D, Y, Shift R, repeat it. So I'll draw a couple of these puppies in there. Let's look at it from top view. I'm just showing y'all just some stuff I'm, you know, just goofing off with as far as workflow and things I'm just messing with as like things to use whenever I come back with official Boxcutter content. I do want to keep doing videos about Boxcutter and hard ops as we're updating them in order to keep you and new users in the know. But whenever we get things a little bit more formalized, that's when we'll update the documentation and whatnot, because so many things are being changed, and a lot of the time I'll be writing a documentation. It's like, wow, this makes no sense, and then I'm back to modifying hard ops. So right here, I'm going to tap into edit mode. I'm just going to put a single loop cut right here. and that's not a problem anymore. Support geo goes a long ways. In a way, I almost see the Boolean modifier, not the Boolean, the bevel modifier as a sort of auditor. I'm still just stuck in blue box today. Let's get out of that. But it's like a sort of auditor where if the geometry isn't completely efficient, it'll cause some mesh catches to happen. So right there, I don't want that. Just looks ugly. You know what? If we go ahead and press Alt-H, we bring all these cutters back. I'm going to scale that in, because that's also ugly. We can do better than that. From here, I'm going to press... Actually, let's just use this. I never use this thing. Let's just turn off that collection. Wow. This is my first time using it. Welcome to the family. Collections in the 3D view. It's always been there. I think it's been there for a while. I just never use it. So, continuing, cutting boxes. Alright, we'll do one more cut here. We'll bring this up, and we C#. And from here, we're just going to demote this, which we don't even have to demote anymore because of the whole weighted normal thing. So demote is going to be removed from hard ops. Bisect might also be removed, suggesting that we keep it for a minute as a legacy fallback system in case, wow, what happened there, really? Let's try that again. Wow, something's really going on there. We got our, let's draw it. Let's press O. Let's press B. Let's hold Shift. Let's really get down to what's going on here. Because the answer to why a Boolean fails is more important, because we don't make a Boolean. All we do is just help you connect to your modifier easier, like a matchmaking site, like plentyofbulls.com, Like there's a Boolean out there for everybody. We're just out there just trying to help you connect. Just try to find you the best Boolean you can. This thing's still live, so we're going to hit array, plus, pull. Kind of reminds me of an old song. But continuing on. So right here, we want to cut this out. That's our life. Just cutting it out. Just cut out that. Cut a little notch there. Cut a little notch there. Where's our plane at? Let's put our plane here. And let's really put this thing to work. So we'll cut a little notch there. Cut a little notch there. This thing's not needed. We'll just move it out the way. So I just kind of got used to this plane. It's a friend. Right there, just put a loop cut in edit mode. No need to even summon a blue box. No need to even change my tool. Just put a quick cut there, just an edge to help it out. Help a Boolean out. Just give a Boolean an edge, you guys. So continuing on, my confidence always increases over the course of these demos because the model will start looking good. I start looking good. I feel pretty, So I have to just keep on because we could turn this into something nice. I just want to just put out a demo showing you guys, me using the latest Boxcutter / hard ops. Let you guys know that, we're not done. Like I said, this is going to be an extended release. It's just some of the problems that we're solving now are the more complex ones that really matter for the future of Boxcutter. So it's something that we don't want to be dropping you guys unstable releases that aren't going to carry things that last into the long run. Right here, I want to bevel that, but it looks like we can only bevel it once because of how close to geometry is there. So continuing on, we have our corridor almost complete. I don't use enough circles. No one ever calls me out on it. They're like, hey, there's also circles. No one ever says that. So we bring in a circle and it's still one of these, so we might as well put this here. Press X. This thing's been applied, so because it's been applied, I can immediately take this face, just push it in. That's this object's life now, and then I have to go back to the support box. Not support box, the red box. Red box is a destructive box, definitely not a support box. We look at this. Let's turn on geometry. Like these issues that happen, I'm more curious into why. Let's just cut at the mirror. Ruthless. Except almost right here. I don't like the look of that edge. Let's just resolve that. Ta-da! And we're done. So even support edges, I hold to a certain level of quality. And as you can see, material group got nuked again. That's why I applied them early, was just to kind of show you guys that problem. It's something I think going on with the Boolean intersect system as well. It might explain why vertex paint is preferred by others. Right here, I'm just going to roll the view a little bit using numpad, I think 2, and we're just going to cut a few angles in here. Yeah, it was numpad 2. Red box. And here we go. So we've just, really just cut to the chase here. I know, worst tutorial ever. I just wanted to kind of have more of a chat. I did a couple of previous takes where I was trying to handle this more informationally, but sometimes with these things I just gotta get a video out there first of me just shooting the shit, just chatting with the hypothetical users that are out there watching this, and the people that aspire to get on the train to Box City. So continuing on, we're going to jump this over to look dev because I love look dev. It just looks so good. Now another thing is right here, shading breakdown. Let's just bring back all our shapes. And I was going to C# it, but C# is such a hard decision. And we're just going to pull it back. We still want that same amount of space back. And under our collections, we're just going to turn off slices again. And we're back in business. So everything's looking good. Right now the Boolean, the bevel modifier is working on angle because we haven't yet transitioned back into a weighted workflow, or I haven't. But I definitely plan to. And when I do, it will mean much more than corridors. But continuing on, corridors I just think are just little fun things. I was previously slicing cubes, and then I just realized that I could slice a cube into a corridor, and that would actually satiate some people who says that all we do is cut cubes. Yeah, in a way we do, but also these are demos, controlled demo tests that are intended to show Boxcutter first and foremost, before I start getting into the minutia of complicated models. So we have 75 users. Now we have 1 user. We're going to make this a mission. Power of 8. We want to select this piece. Please let me select it. Slice. Nope, not that slice. I think these pieces are all together, so we're just messing with ourselves here. So previously I had a bunch of people commenting about how the floors I make were hard to walk on. So in this one I tried to kind of chill out on the floor a little bit. No need to get mad, get the floors to the point where people are complaining to engineering about us. So we're going to bring this piece up, maybe change it to a cut. Press B, and with this hole I'm going to put a plane in it, and we're going to use a classic workflow. Just examine it, and that is pressing Alt P and Alt J. But first we got to use Control R and just roll some loop cuts in here. We want to roll some more loop cuts so it's like a square shape everywhere. And we're going to subdivide that because why not? Now in face mode, I'm going to right click and see if poke's in here. Hey, poke is in here. So never mind. Poke's in here. We're going to poke these things. We're going to press Alt J, which basically redirects the edge flow. So poking it and then redirecting edge flow. So I'm going to double tap I, inset every face, and we'll just bring this in and actually bevel it like so. This is different than what I normally do, and we're just going to create a pattern like this up there. So that'll do. I just want something of a different texture. In fact, we can take this, put it over here on the side, and this is another area. We're not even going to be able to see this. I just realized it, but let's just do it anyway. So right here, I'm going to draw a red box. We're going to bring it in. I love drawing on the surface in a flattened view and then rotating the view and watching this thing get deep. It reminds me of Fusion 360. So right here, I'm going to hold Shift. We're going to keep this. We're going to look at this from this side, and we'll just go into wireframe. Been trying to bring wireframe back into my life. Wireframe was a dear friend to me. Z is a button y'all just shouldn't mess around with, but making it turn into this pie menu just takes a little getting used to. Really, that's all Blender is, right? Is take a moment to stop complaining and just try it long enough. It'll make sense. So right here, I'm using a knife. I'm going to press K or Z for cut through, and then I'm going to press C for constraint, and we're just going to cut an edge here. Press V, Control L. Sheesh. Oh, let's try that again. We're going to press K. We're going to press Z. And we're just going to cut through. In fact, let's make sure we're in edge mode. That could have been where we went wrong. Z, and then C, and V. Why am I in face mode? Wow, I'll have to really make it very jagged separation there. I don't like that. That's an unacceptable outcome. What's going on with you, knife? We'll talk later. So anyways, that was kind of weird, but I'm back up in the club. We're just going to mirror that to the other side using the 2 object mirror. If you select one object, select another object, and press Alt X, your icons will be green. And that means that you have 2 objects selected. So if your mirror tool doesn't look like this, that means you have 1 object selected. Just a little FYI. This shape here, you know where it belongs. It belongs in cutters. Cutters belongs off. So back to look dev view. Somehow we got turned around there. Ended up forgetting where we were trying to go. You know, we're just gonna make the screen that. Just make it emissive. And now let's you know, modify this material, and we're just going to make it gray. Give it a little more roughness. And from here we can just select key pieces and just Control L with this thing. We could also just select pieces, use Alt M, and assign them like that, which is also classic. I judge everything based off of how far my fingers have to move and how far away I'm getting from my home row. So I should really map more of this stuff to the mouse, because a lot of the hotkeys I had mapped to my MMO macro mouse isn't even working anymore, but I have hope, you know. And also, old habits die hard. I just can't stop clicking stuff. Right here, we're going to actually give this its own material, and we're going to lower the metallic on this. And there we go. So if we press Alt V and go into HQ mode, explosion, guys. Prepare for an explosion. Bam. Oh my god. I'm out. You know, I'll stand up, I get away from this desk because, holy mackerel, this reflection is just crazy. It's just crazy. It's crazy every time. Are you going to do this to me every time I open you, Eevee? You're just going to blow me away. You're just going to make me have to just run away from the computer because of this freaking awesomeness. I love 2.8. You know, so much that I'm almost like, you know, don't come to 2.8. It's my program, my Blender. Get out of here. Just kidding. Everybody's welcome. I'm going to press Alt H, bring back this bull shape here. You thought it was easy. You thought it was real easy. Sheesh. Second-rate citizens. I'm telling you, these wires, you know, my mother was a wire. Oh, had it. I had it, you got. There we go. So I just want to scale this in. I think it looks kind of trashy, all humongous. Like, what the freak is this corridor? I mean, what is this area for? And our booleans are going to go mad. I mean, we could lower the bevel just a little bit. That'll accommodate. But if we hit with the blue box, we've went above and beyond. Except for that part where we lose our material. So later in the game, shouldn't be using blue box as much. It's more of a construction item, but we do plan to get that issue resolved in any way that we can to try to make it easier. I've even thrown out suggestions like putting back knife project as a classic blue box, or at least introducing it as an alternate algorithm, because I personally cannot have that happening to me. If I'm working on a model and I'm trying to really fine-tune it at the very end, I don't want that kind of weirdness. So right here, you know what this needs? You already know what this needs. It needs a freaking keyboard. So, you know, if I had KitOps, I would be inserting KitOps 2.8 coming very soon. It's being worked on day and night, killing people over it. But it's coming. In fact, it's almost here. It's just we need it to be a certain way, and we need it to also be good, you know. And releasing all our stuff for 2.8, you know, there's definitely a gold rush to get our tools out the door first and have that. However, you know, I really hate having any of these tools in a state less than perfect. So right here, I'm just gonna GY, Shift R. That did not. GYY. And let's go back to rendered mode. Let's not go back to render mode. Let's go to look dev mode. We take these keys, we give them a different material, and at least we have a simple keyboard going on here. We want to turn off the cutters for the 800th time because that's our life. Just turning off cutters. Like, hey, what'd you do today? Well, you know, I turned off cutters 800 times, you know, as a group because it just doesn't take no for an answer. Like, no means no. Cutters. So anyways, continuing on, just looking at it, just taking in what I got here. I really hate how white this is. You know, darker we go, the darker it goes. And also, you know, so much roughness. I mean, I love reflection, but you know, we dial some things back a little bit. Put in rendered, turn off overlays and just take a look at what we have here. Just a quick little corridor. So to wrap up this video, because I see that I've been talking for 40 minutes and I know how much you guys hate that, I'm going to take slices. In fact, what's in hard ops? Nothing. So this group wasn't even needed. We're going to take this, put it inside of collection. But inside of collection we have camera. Let's move that out. So collection, which is this, is just, we'll just call it core part. It's a part. It's part of a corridor. Cutters, we don't want that in there. We don't want to duplicate that at all. But in my experiences of getting used to 2.8, One of the things I've also been getting used to is how you can press Shift A and insert a collection instance of your collection. And since I started from a cube, this thing's exactly two Blender units. So I can just duplicate it. And I can just bring it out here. I can hold Control, and because I'm on snapping, because my snapping is set to increment, it's going to incrementally snap it while I'm holding Shift. Because it's a cube and I'm measuring cubes against other cubes. And we could take that, Shift D, Y, maybe X, maybe actual X, there we go. And then Shift R to repeat that because that's repeatable. So right here, we're just going to move this over. I'm just holding Control, just the laziest way to use Blender. Usually I type in numbers to do things, but in this case, we're just creating just a hallway of computer terminals. You know, this is your registration bay. I just can't get over it. It's just a fun time every time. You know, you're looking for something to do with a date on a Friday night? Take her to Blender. Take her into Blender. So I'm going to press M. We're going to put this in a new collection. Just call this Chorus Set. That sounds like a medication, but we'll make that layer 2. One thing I do like about Eevee or 2.8 is I can press 1, go to layer 1. Layer 2 is all this stuff. Layer 2 is a clone of all this stuff on layer 1. So I can just save this, press Control S, and we're just going to call this Quora Test Demo. Coming soon to Patreon, this file. So, you know, the important thing of having this is I can go here and select certain parts and do with them what I need to. Like right here, I think the whole world could benefit from circle, red box, a few more octagons wouldn't hurt. And we can hold Control, and that should have let us repeat it, but in this case, might have had an issue. We are still working on some internal glitches on various things, so this update is mainly to just get people up to speed, because anytime I'm using a version that isn't out, I'm unable to do videos because I feel it's kind of mean to do videos about versions that don't exist. So I try to do that very minimally because, you know, one thing I don't want to do is tease customers. I don't want to tease people that already have the product. I want to get it out to you guys ASAP so y'all can tell me what's wrong with it, and then we can get right back to work. But over here in the color management, I'm going to change this to, we'll leave that on Filmic. We'll change this to a high contrast, and does it actually only show up in the render now? It doesn't even work in look dev. Maybe it does. We just turn on scene lights, and there we go. Now it works over in look dev. So there's always a reason behind it. And if we turn on bloom, it's the end of time. You know, we've summoned apocalypse, and boom, you know, it's over. In fact, we go under bloom, we turn up the threshold because we only want certain things glowing, and we only want that glow going out just a certain amount. But we press Shift tilde, we can walk through this hallway and just look at all these computers that are showing nothing. What's on the screen? We gotta find out what's around that hole. We gotta find out. But next time, you know what's around there. So with that, we're just gonna run, jump, and press G to turn on gravity, so we can just you guys never did that. Look, you can press Shift tilde, right? But if you press G, it'll put you on the ground. And so you can press, watch, I'm just walking with WASD, but if I walk backwards, it's like, oh, you know, I forget about that sort of stuff. You know, Blender's a fun time. Blender is a fun time. But if I press G, why am I so tall? I mean, I guess I'm a couple of meters tall, but wow, I'm really up to the roof here. But eat your heart out, Cycles. Cycles would never let us just look around a scene like this. Like, we can really just get down here and just say, this keyboard isn't a good keyboard. These grills make no sense, you know. There's no logos. So with that, that's why I'm going to walk over to the end and just jump off. So with that, I'll see you guys next time, and I'll be back with more Boxcutter demos.